Hey everyone, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm. Today I'm going to be bringing you my January wrap-up part 1. I'm going to be splitting this into different genres because I've read more books than I thought I would this month so far. It's only the 23rd and I have already completed 7 books this month. Today is going to be the thriller edition, so I've read 3 thrillers this month so far. The first thriller that I started 2020 with was The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. This was my first Tarryn Fisher book and I can definitely say it won't be my last. I was absolutely enamored by her writing from the very first page. The concept of being married to a man with 2 other wives that you know absolutely nothing about is fascinating to me. Not ever something I would ever consider doing, FYI. So in The Wives by Tarryn Fisher, our protagonist, who we know as Thursday, she doesn't even know what the other wives look like. She's called Thursday because she only sees her husband once a week on a Thursday, and she shares him with the other girls for the rest of it, which is just bizarre. For the most part, Thursday seems to be the girl that is a bit more fun and laid back than the other ones and just kind of lets him relax and breathe with her. And then one day she is going through his pockets or something and she finds this little slip of paper that has the details of one of the other wives on them, her name and everything she needs to look her up. And that's where shit gets real. As always, my reviews are spoiler free. I do not want to spoil a book for anyone. So I can say that the twist was absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately I did not find it believable in the slightest. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and the reason I knocked a star back was because as good as the book was, I did find it just slightly too predictable for my liking. Honestly, this book, it's got everything a normal thriller does have, a stereotypical thriller. I can't speak today. Stereotypical thriller. It's got your unreliable narrator. It's got the uncertainty where you don't know what is real and what is not. Overall, yeah, I would recommend it to psychological thriller lovers, but it's not a groundbreaking thriller for me. But that said, I will definitely be picking up more by Tarryn Fisher in the future. The next book that I read this month was Conviction by Denise, Mina, which is a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. I was ridiculously excited for this book. I mean, Reese Witherspoon, I love her book picks, and also it's a thriller that has an element of a true crime podcast, which I love true crime. It's one of my biggest obsessions besides reading books, so I was so ready to dive into it. However, sadly, as hard as I tried, I could not get into this book. I had to restart it so many times to try and just wrap my head around it. I was just bored out of my skull. Quite frankly, it's one of the first books in a very long time that I've actually been tempted to completely DNF, which is do not finish for those of you who do not know the booktube lingo. The premise of Conviction is this woman who is obsessed with true crime like me, so I instantly thought I'd connect with her. And one day she's at home by herself and she decides to start investigating a true crime case herself. It's a case about this sunken yacht in the Mediterranean and multiple murders, and trying to figure out who the murderer is and how she gets wrapped up in this entire case. I found Conviction to be very far-fetched and incredibly messy. I think I've actually started to realize that for me personally, I don't actually, as much as I love true crime, I don't really like books based on detectives and crime and stuff. I prefer psychological, suspenseful thrillers. So maybe that's where I'm going wrong, choosing books about true crime that I think I'm going to just absolutely love. But it's just not my thing. I'm not really a crime reader. I need that like heartbeat racing, scary thriller that's going to just keep me on the edge of my seat, not like a slow burn thing. So maybe that's my problem with books like this. I guess I kind of used to think that thrillers and crime would slot into the same kind of genre, but to be fair, they're 2 very different genres and they just give off completely different vibes. So I did only give Conviction by Denise, Mina a 2-star review, but give it a go yourself, see what you think, because this is just my personal opinion. Then there's a book that I just finished today called The Assistant by S.K. Tremayne. I have loved every single S.K. Tremayne book that I've ever read, so obviously when I saw that there was a new one coming out, I had to grab it immediately and just devour it. I did it in a day and a half. I still absolutely loved The Assistant, but I found it to be very different in style compared to his other books. In a way, to me, it kind of reminded me of J.P. Delaney's more futuristic technology kind of a vibe. In The Assistant, our protagonist is this lady called Jo, who is a recently divorced writer. She moves into this modern apartment that has this home assistant system in place, which people call Electra. It's very cutting edge technology that absolutely everybody wants. But Jo comes with a very dark past, and she's kept her secrets very long buried and hidden. And then it turns out this home assistant system, Electra, knows more than she should, and all her secrets are coming back to haunt her through this artificial intelligence, which all sounds very sci-fi, but I assure you it's not. It's a very psychological thriller. I love the wintry London theme, and just the creepy element to it was just perfection. I absolutely loved it. S.K. Tremayne is a very underrated writer in my opinion. When in the initial pages of the book, when I first started reading it, I got quite like a Bridget Jones vibe from the protagonist Jo. I felt like she was really funny, her humor really came out. But then as the story unraveled and the creep factor came in, we kind of lost that character of Jo. I kind of felt like we lost her a bit. So that's why I knocked off 1 star. So this one got a 4 out of 5 stars from me on Goodreads. So they're the throws I've read this month so far. Let me know what you've been reading this month, and if there's anything you think I need to bump up onto my list and read as soon as possible. I'll see you next time for another genre January wrap-up.